Hi guys, welcome back to another Matchbox Garage video. I'm Rob and today I'm going to be taking this 1979 camper from shabby to shiny. Now this little camper, I had it in my collection, the only one that I had with this kind of style. I'm not too sure what style this is called, but obviously it's just a pickup with a little camper on the back, but I think it's super cool. So we start off by removing the rivet. We drill down the centre of the post, remove the flange and tap the hole. Remember to oil up your tap before you put it in the hole. You don't want to snap it off in there. So this is my little car. Oops, not forgetting my very handy vise. And I've kind of got it in my hand, doing the voiceover a day later, and I think it looks really cool. Some good little details on this. Now it just says camper underneath, but I believe it's got a Ford badge in the grille, but I don't recognise this style, so if anybody could tell me what Ford it was or is, that would be great. Now there's no windows in this car. I've had a look just to make sure that that was a standard feature, and indeed it was, so I'm going to be putting windows in. But underneath she reads Matchbox Superfast Camper 1979 made in England, which is number 38. So I've already pre-drilled this. I must admit I don't love this screw, but I'm running out of screws, and the seller that I use doesn't appear to be selling anymore, so I may need to find a new home or source of screws. But the kind of base here, it's all fine. A little bit crusty. Yeah, some fluff in the wheels there. These wheels are really poor condition. I don't know whether they've been chewed up or just excessive play, but certainly they're very worn, they're loose, and they will be replaced. Windscreen is fine, no deep scratches, a bit of a polish up and a bit of pledge, bring that back up. Shame it's green, I prefer clear, but there we are. There was a kind of, a plastic tab or a plastic rivet holding the top on, with a drill come off in about half a second. So this is all really we've got to play with. It's a bit basic, so I felt that some windows were required, and I cut out from some packaging this piece of plastic here, and I'm going to be gluing them behind all the windows so that it looks proper. So here's the base itself, all dusty. I guess the dust gets in through those open windows. Shame really that we kind of lose a bit of the detail in the back with these rear lights. But the tabs that are sticking out, I guess they now act as the rear lights, so I'll paint those up later on. But we start by taking the paint off. Dropped in some boiling water and then 2 teaspoons of caustic soda. Remember all your kind of PPE, your personal protection. Actually, I did go with a 1/3 teaspoon on this, only because my teaspoon was a bit gunked up and a bit bent, and I couldn't really get a full teaspoon, so there we are. Although, saying that, this red colour was holding on pretty firm, and I left it for longer than usual, probably up to 5 minutes or so, where usually I can kind of almost rinse it off within just a minute or so. It does just rub off, with a rubber glove, but I do like to see it come out nice and clean, but with the wire wheel on my fake Dremel, you know, it does come up nice. And unfortunately for me, I've managed to break the on-off button on this drill, so I'm having to kind of bodge it. But when you do use the wire wheel, do remember your safety glasses. So now that she's all polished up, ready for some primer, and I use the Tamiya Fine. Just with a single heavy coat over the whole casting, which does help kind of future play, and also for the top coat to adhere. Now I know that Matchbox didn't prime their cars, but I do, and I think so does everybody else that has a channel restoring die-cast cars. But it looks good in white. Now the colour that it was like an orangey red colour. Now I didn't try to colour match, I simply went with 50% X6 and 50% X7, the Tamiya acrylics, with around 2:1 ratio with my X28 thinner. It's a nice colour, a little bit more on the reddy side compared to original, but that's fine. You know, this is a custom. I didn't try to colour match, well, you know, within reason. I knew it was an orangey red. I went with an orangey red, but I didn't kind of go, you know, add a little bit more, 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 which I do on some occasions for some of the older stuffs, you know, the 50s and 60s, where I try and do a true restoration. With these customs, somewhere in the ballpark's good enough for me. When I paint, I always like to start painting from underneath, doing all the kind of, I guess, under the door sills, the wheel arches. Reason being, I regularly have issues with my paint or my airbrush gun, and I prefer to have the issue where it's not seen underneath, so that I can rectify it if needed. And then when I'm happy, you know, start putting it on the body. Now I almost waste my time by kind of painting a lot, almost half of this car, because it's covered with the camper top. But no, I like to make that, I know, at least I know, and so do you, know that inside it is perfectly painted, even though no one will ever see it. But it'll be our little secret. So there's the first kind of tack coat, and I end up with probably 4 coats on this one. So this is it after around 4 coats, looking nice and shiny. So this is still wet, and it does level off somewhat, you know, once it dries fully. So now it's obviously fully dry, it's fully hardened. It's probably a day later at this point. Happy with how that's come out, but we still need to turn our attention to the plastic parts here. I was considering doing some kind of bleach mix, maybe try and whiten this up a bit, but you know, I did put it against the red, kind of orangey red, and the creamy colour seemed fine, so I kept with it. But after the windscreen was kind of washed off and a little light buff, drop it into my Pledge just to get a real shine on it, and it looks brand new. Tap off any excess. So this is the actual kind of back end now. Massive difference, you know, kind of as I was kind of wiping off all the dirt and the grime. Yeah, really happy how that one come out actually, with just some literally cold water and an old paintbrush. But I'm going to start kind of cutting up this bit of plastic now and super gluing it into place. And there you can see from the inside, just little squares or little oblongs there, super glued in, and I think you'll agree that looks pretty good. And then just touched up a few little details like the ladder, rear number plate, and the spare wheel on the back there. Now I'm going to turn my attention now to the base. Just polish it up, but remove these old cruddy wheels and figure out what kind of wheel swap I'm going to do for that. But use my trusty old wire wheel again. And just as a little reminder of why you should use your goggles, you could see probably one of the wires there, it's just sticking out of my finger. It doesn't hurt. I could just pull this out easy, but you don't want that in your eyeball. So wear your glasses. Now we've got everything dry, everything finished, everything ready. I love the detail on the back of that. Polished up the base. Nice bit of detail on the front. Headlights, front number plate, bit of Citadel in the grille. I've done a wheel swap, a bit more beefier, and I've kind of added a bit more chrome onto the wheels there. This is it's a modern Matchbox, so this gave up its wheels. That will go in my parts bin. You never know if I need anything from that. But I'm going to, off camera now, put all this together and show it to you in the final reveal. So as a little reminder of what she looked like and the result. I think it looks really nice. I think the wheels suit it. They're kind of like almost like a go anywhere type of wheel. You'll just see just a nice bit of gap. So it's a roller. It works perfectly. I've painted. You probably may not notice, but I've painted those rear tabs coming through in a proper red to almost symbolise that they are rear tail lights. But I'd like to thank my Patreons, Wills and Thangs, Bearded Outcast, Nick's Toy Garage, Mark Dandridge and Rick Bryan. And of course thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you'll stick around for the next one.